And so you have an over $1 trillion entity that's backed by the American taxpayers that has a negative net worth. Any other company like that would be in bankruptcy or receivership.
FHA has been and remains a valuable part of the housing finance system. However, in the past few years, FHA has dominated the mortgage insurance market due to housing policies and practices that provide competitive advantages to FHA while crowding out private capital.
And we agree, at least I agree, coming from a building background, real estate background, we need FHA. And FHA was started with great intentions as far as first-time home buyers, low to moderate income.
There are certain tenets of sound lending that are inescapable, regardless if it's a large loan or a small loan. And if you get away from those sound tenets of lending, you're going to lose. And it seems to me that we have continually done that with some of our GSEs. We know what we need to be doing, and yet we fall away from that. And as soon as we do, we wound up in trouble.
I think there are some ideas that we can pursue to have a more sound policy that charges actuarially sound rates and still encourages home ownership. But when you encourage home ownership in a way that somebody can't sustain it, that's not really encouraging responsible home ownership. So I think charging rates that are inappropriate or low isn't fair to FHA or their long-term mission and their viability. So I think there are some simple reforms that we can enact, common sense reforms that I think would make the program better.
GAO has found that the Council lacks systemic processes to identify future threats to the financial system in its annual reports, that it fails to distinguish future from current threats, and that it has failed to prioritize those threats that it has identified.
Let me move on to another issue, and that's the Volcker Rule. I firmly agree that banks should not be involved in proprietary trading when they're using insured deposits. There's no question about that. When we're talking about making markets, it gets a little bit more difficult. But what we're running into really difficulty is the diversity of opinions from agencies as to what and when the Volcker Rule will apply. And I direct your attention to a letter of December 20th from the Bipartisan Policy Center. I believe you may have a copy of this. But their concern is that the adoption of the Volcker Rule should be consistent among all agencies. Would you not agree?
Congressman, I think that's an important point, and Treasury has a statutory coordination role in the Volcker Rule. I think one thing that is key to note in the experience that we've seen so far, although the statute doesn't require substantively identical
But the impact of not having a consistent rule is going to be devastating on the financial industry. Would you not agree? I mean, there has to be some consistency in not only interpretation, but also the application of the Volcker Rule.